show him how to use it, the iPad? For Jack, I guess.
To
Randy
read
was
it?
wondering. No, he was just wondering if he knew how to use the iPad in terms of following.
Okay, are we ready to start?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's here.
Yeah, but I didn't know whether. That's fine.
Yeah, why don't you Okay, we're going to get started.
So, good afternoon. I think this works, right?
Yes.
Yes? Good. The first order of business this evening is to swear in our new board members. Congratulations to all of them. The rest of us look forward to working with you. And we have Jack Sullivan first, who will be sworn in by Justice Richard Lawson. Up here's best, because then you're photographic and all that. You're ready.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jack Sullivan, do solemnly swear
I, Jack Sullivan, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws of the State of New Mexico,
and the Constitution and laws of the State of New Mexico,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
of the office of Member Santa Fe Community College Board,
of the office of Member Santa Fe Community College Board,
Santa Fe, New Mexico,
Santa Fe, New Mexico,
which I am about to enter
which I am about to enter
according to law
according to law
and to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next we have the oath of office for Linda Siegel, which will be administered by Judge Ann Yeoman.
I, Linda Siegel,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the State of New Mexico,
of the State of New Mexico,
and that I will faithfully
and impartially
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office of member,
of the office of member,
Santa Fe Community College Board,
Santa Fe Community College Board,
Santa Fe, New Mexico,
Santa Fe, New Mexico,
which I am about to enter
according to law
according to law
and to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Right.
Okay. So wait, we have to. Okay.
And Then we have the oath of office for Mr. Pablo Cedillo, which will be administered by Justice Lawson as well. Justice Serna was called away and was unable to join us.
Raise your hand and repeat after me. I, Pablo Cedillo,
I, Pablo Cedillo,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
of the office of member,
of the office of member,
Santa Fe Community College Board,
Santa Fe Community College Board,
Santa Fe, New Mexico,
Santa Fe, New Mexico,
which I am about to enter,
which I'm about to enter
according to law
according to law
and to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome, and new and if you'd like to get the whole group, that's terrific. You want the whole board or just just the new, just
All
the
of the
new?
new members and their.
Yeah.
Judge, yeah, new judge.
So where are we standing?
Out of the limelight, over here probably.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we can't because he's recording.
Yeah, the light is.
The light is just.
Pablo. Or a little. The light.
Now the other board members. And judges, you're excused. Thank you.
My name is misspelled, so.
Thank you.
Well, I will turn the gavel over to our chair, Linda Siegel.
Okay, now we're official and we can call ourselves to order. And we have a quorum. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. Can we have a motion to adopt our agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, where are we? Donna, do we have public comment?
We do. Susan Winter.
Madam Chair, board members, and President, Susan Winter, nursing faculty. I want to thank you for the positive reception of the letter put together as a group effort by faculty of the Nursing Education Department and others in Health, Math, and Sciences. The safety and security of students, faculty, and staff is extremely important. And sadly, in this day and age, serious and actual threats are no longer a what if, but rather a let's be prepared for when. Many of us have been through the training in the event of an active shooter on campus. We've had our office windows covered in opaque plastic. We know how to stay out of the line of sight and barricade ourselves within our classrooms. This particular potential threat, while handled well and with quick containment of the threat, also showed some areas that could be improved. Communication more widely and quickly disseminated about the threat, and follow-up communication would be very helpful, both in extending our vigilance as well as allaying fear and anxiety. In addition, our counseling staff numbers have been reduced in the past few years from 5 down to 2, with an increase in student numbers. Both counselors and advisors have been centralized, so are no longer a frequent presence throughout the campus. We feel that the board should be aware of these concerns and also of our willingness to close the gaps and continue to make the Santa Fe Community College community a safe place for faculty, staff, and students. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Donna?
Megan Hopkins.
Madam Chair, board members, and Mr. President, my name is Megan Hopkins, and I'm the site coordinator for the AARP Foundation's tax aid site at the Santa Fe Community College, which was located here at the Fitness Center. On behalf of the program, I would like to give you a report on our season and our thanks. Our site prepared 9,277 returns, an increase of 5.8% over last year. The IRS says that there were 72,000 returns filed in Santa Fe County. We prepared 13.89% of those returns. We are the largest AARP tax site in this country, preparing more returns than any other site, due in no small part to the support we received from SFCC. We generated net refunds of over $9.8 million to our neighbors, an increase of 1% over last year. This money tends to stay in the community, and it has a multiplier effect in the local economy. We want to thank the staff, faculty, and administration for hosting us. A special shout out to the people at the Fitness Center, OIT, POM, marketing, and the custodians. Without the space, furniture, parking, security, housekeeping, internet access, and advertising, we could not have provided our service to the community for free. We also wish to thank the 90 volunteers who worked at the site, including 14 students who are enrolled at Santa Fe Community College. We look forward to doing it again all next year. Thank you.
Susan, and I'm sorry I can't read your writing for your last name, Susan S. Is that sorry. It was hard to read your your writing. Sorry, Susan. Did you? Oh, okay. Then that's all. Thanks, Susan.
Thank you. Okay, President's report.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I have a brief verbal report to give you. As we talked about in the budget process, we did receive funding from the legislature in House Bill 2 to start the radiography program, the automotive program, and to expand our hospitality program. We especially want to thank our local delegation for supporting those measures, and for the governor who signed the bill and left the funding alone. We're having our graduation for the class of 2015 on Saturday, May 16th at 2 p.m. We're going to be at the Santa Fe Indian School once again in their Pueblo Pavilion. And our keynote speaker this year is going to be Congressman Ben Ray Lujan. This past week we had our first Native American Week, and it was very successful. There were lots of events. I especially want to thank Valerie Grimley and Marvin Gabaldon, who helped organize this, working with the Native American Club to get this done. It culminated with the signing of an MOU with 11 Pueblos and the Navajo Nation to provide scholarships to their tribal members. And there's one full-time scholarship or 2 part-time scholarships to start off with. It was well attended, well received. We've already got some new students as a result of that. Many of you met August Tannell, who's a student here in the master's program, the high school student, but a dual credit student in our biofuels program. He was a featured speaker. House Leader Nancy Pelosi was here a few weeks ago. But he's also received another honor from the Santa Fe Institute. He's received a prize for scientific excellence. He's going to graduate on Saturday, May 16th with a college degree, and the next week he's going to graduate. Several of our film crew students are working on various TV series being shot in the area. Colleen Valentine is on Longmire and Night Shift. Karen Billiard is on Gunslingers. Sarah Elkins and Maya Rose Tweeten are on Gunslingers, and Brandon Brady's on Manhattan. Our food trucks, if you haven't seen it out front on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the Santa Fe Culinary Arts Program in partnership with the Street Food Institute is operating a food truck. It's here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's at the Higher Education Center once a week, and it's at other locations in town, and we're excited about that, and it's pretty healthy kind of fast food. We had the student writing competitions this past week. The winner of the poetry competition was Marlana Bolger. Runner-ups for poetry were Holly Baldwin and Lorraine Leslie, and honorable mentions for poetry were Noah Caswell-Levy, Lorraine Leslie, Hillary Craig, and Christiane Bushman. In the fiction category, the winner was Carrie Morgan Canella. The runner-up was Rebecca Freeman, and honorable mentions went to Holly Baldwin and Hillary Craig. In the personal essay category, the winner was Tyra Sandoval. The runner-up was Jamie Graber, and honorable mentions went to Carrie Morgan Canella and Cedric Griego. And in the academic essay category, the winner was Aida Wester, and runner-up was Aida Wester, and honorable mention went to Jennifer Gregg. We also had a food drive for the campus cupboard. We raised over 310 pounds of food during this drive. It was sponsored by the peer leaders in our first-year student experience program, students from the master's program, and the Pride Club on campus. The Respiratory Care Student Club raised over $2,200 to help the respiratory care students pay for their credentialing, for their exam registration fees. And just to let everybody know, Community Day is going to be on the plaza on May 9th, and we're going to have over 20 tables at that event. Our Employee Engagement Committee is coordinating the graduation ceremony. We had our first cohort from our Santa Fe Community College Leadership Institute. That graduation or recognition ceremony is going to be on April the 30th. 40 faculty and staff members completed the 9-month program, during which time they engaged in learning leadership skills and working with their peers on increasing support of Santa Fe Community College's mission. And we're celebrating Earth Week this week. So if you came in earlier today, you saw lots of tables up and down the hall. We're having tours, we're having films. We have a lot of events on Friday, and student government, and Willie's probably going to say a little bit more about that in his report. And then I also just want to announce that Amanda Hatherley, who's the director of our Center of Excellence in Green Building and Energy Efficiency, is part of a national water efficiency rating scores development team, and they won a Sustainable Santa Fe Award for developing an accurate and flexible tool to drive water conservation. And I'd also like to add that this is the last board meeting for Dr. Chris De La Rosa. He's been our CIO for the past 2 years. He's moving to California to be closer to family. We're all going to miss him, and for those who want to come and enjoy and say goodbye, we're having a lunch. That's not picking up. Not picking up. Is it that buzz kitchen and everything?
Martha.
So, I too want to thank Chris De La Rosa. We're going to miss him. He's done some very good work for us. But I especially, and all the other people that you mentioned as demonstrating excellence at SFCC, but I especially want to call out the writers group, the poets and the writers. I think that's something that we often overlook in terms of the work of our students, and I'm really pleased that we do that, and I want to congratulate all of you that were honored in that way.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to also mention that we actually, for the first time last week, we had a poetry reading in the library. It's students from the advanced and I believe the beginning poetry classes actually. That's the first time we've actually done that. We want to do the enrollment report.
Yes. Gonzalez.
Madam Chair, members of the board, President Grissom. We are at, I think, did you give them the new?
Yes.
So we still are improving. Josh and I are having a conversation about this. And so we are up 1.56% in our head count. We are down in our student credit hours, 7.97. I don't think this is good. There may be some changes between now and the end of the year, but I don't think that much. Yesterday, we started our summer enrollment registration, and we are doing something new this year. The first day of registration is only for people who have 30 hours and who have degree seeking, so that they can get the classes they need. And then the second day, we open it up for everybody. And we say that the first day of registration is today. And those that registered yesterday got a postcard or a letter. And then next Monday, we start the same thing with fall registration. So we will have the people with 30 hours and degree seeking on Monday, and then Tuesday it's open for everybody. So Monday, and the last two registration periods, we've had a problem with the pipes. That's all I understand. And the system has gone down. And so that's why we tried to do it this way, so that it wouldn't be such a heavy load the first day with everybody registering. Yes, and we also wanted to give the people who have a need to get all the classes so they can finish. So we, anyway, that's what we did this year. And I think it worked. The pipes didn't go down. And we hope next week when we have a heavier load, everything will be smooth. This was kind of like our little pilot. And last month you asked for some more definite information about who's staying, who's leaving. And so Yash has that for you.
Madam Chairs, members of the board, President Grissom. So we did look at some of the data. I'm hoping that next month, when when the docket isn't so heavy, I could give more of a complete report to all of you. But currently, we are seeing about between 9 to 13% of the students who register ends up withdrawing before the semester begins and all throughout the semester. As you might expect, more students tend to withdraw near the end of the semester. More students tend to drop those courses before the semester begins. So I hope to give you a complete report during the next board meeting. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to talk about that as well.
Yes.
Would you also be able to separate that out by achievement gap, by ethnicity and demographics?
We'll definitely be able to do that, so we plan to do that. Thank you.
And moving forward, don't you love it when you give us a piece of information and the only thing we can ask is for another piece of information?
That's part of the joy, so thank you.
And moving forward, it would be great when we run through those numbers at the end of the semester to say, okay, this is how many students stayed in, this is how many completed successfully with a C or higher, and then for those students who and to see the demographics around that as well too, so that we have a better idea of who's succeeding and who's not succeeding.
It will be my pleasure. Thank you.
When we have an increase in actual head count and yet a decrease in the FTEs, I guess that means people are taking less hours? And is it a certain segment of people, or is it?
So this is where Carmen and I have started having a discussion. After receiving the request from the board members on running some enrollment information, the headcounts may be not at the point we think it is. So we want to spend the next couple of weeks sort of taking a look at it to make sure that's the actual numbers. It may be actually overestimated due to the contract training numbers might be included in the head count, which would then explain why there is a slight increase in the head count while there's a decrease in the SCH. But it's not conclusive at this point, so I hesitate to say one way or another. It could be that, it could be that, in fact, yes, people are just taking less credit loads as well. So I hope to give you a more of a complete report during the next board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, that often happens when the recession is over and people are going back to work. They take fewer hours.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Yes,
Okay.
Employee of the Month.
So for the month of March, for the Pass It Forward Award, Greg Scargill from our Veterans Resource Center nominated Susan Salgado from our Records Department. And I believe they're both here, so come on up.
Madam Chair, members of the board, President Grisham, it was with great honor that I was able to pass it forward to my colleague here, Susan Salgado. As many of you may know, she's served the veteran population in part of her responsibilities for, I think, probably my estimation is 15 years. And I know we're not the easiest population on campus to work with when it comes to getting benefits, but we all really honor the tireless work that she does, working with VA and being that liaison between the Veterans Administration and the Santa Fe Community College. So she's a huge asset to our population here as far as us, receiving benefits and having a communication with the Veterans Administration. So to me, it was a very easy choice that she hadn't been selected for this, and we just wanted to honor her with that for this month. So I just really appreciate all she's done for the veterans, and I know on behalf of many veterans that are here, past, present, and in the future, her services are greatly valuable to us.
Thank you. Would you like to say something?
It's been an honor working with these guys and women that serve in our military. I appreciate them, and I work very hard to make sure they get what they need and stay updated on everything so that they get their education. And I try to make sure that we keep them here till they graduate. So I appreciate them as well.
Well, congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Now for the WildGram, Joel Carlson from our Office of Planning and Information Institutional Effectiveness nominated Stevie Schmaltz from our OIT office.
And I don't believe Stevie's here. For the academic program review this year, we took on a new model, and that required us to meet with the faculty going through program review every 2 weeks in a cohort with computers so that we could work together. And I nominated Stevie because she just went out of her way to make sure that I didn't have to worry about technology. It was set up, the Macs and the PCs talked to each other. She spent a lot of extra time just making sure that everything went smoothly, and I truly appreciate that.
Great, thanks. Okay, we have the Communications Faculty Senate Report.
Go ahead. So, we have, or you have in your board packet, I believe, minutes for March 27, 2015. I was at another college function that day, so I'm turning the coverage of that over to Ms. Megan Hopkins and Ms. Marcy Iannarino, who were there that day. So.
Great.
You go.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so what we did was we started with Jeremy Luvato, who came from OIT, and they stated that they'll be accepting technology requests, and they want the process to be more effective and transparent, and we discussed that. Let's see. Do you have anything else to add right there? Okay, and then Julie Gallegos came from OPI to talk about working with the VPAA on the IDEA survey, and we are getting better and better at administering that. We want to initiate the system to improve it and get information and the reviews back to the faculty. That's what Julie was saying, and the date was moved to fall 14 semester to make sure that the results were back in time to the faculty, and that's going to be really nice so that we can make adjustments if we need to. Let's see. When they talked about when the packets will be available. They talked about being sure that we filled out our objectives on our sheets because the admins have to spend an inordinate amount of time helping us if we make mistakes. Let's see. I think.
There's an issue. Sorry. There's an issue. Yeah, there's an issue with adjuncts because so many of them aren't in the area. We even have some overseas. It is difficult for them to. They're not getting feedback, especially on a timely basis. Some of them can't get here 8 to 5. So we're looking at a way to get our adjuncts better feedback and those comments from the IDEA survey.
Didn't you all work on shared governance?
We're getting there.
And then we worked on shared governance. We talked about some language that we wanted kept in there about timely and effective communication. We feel like that's really important. And we wanted to make sure that the language was inclusive and made a couple of all the constituents and made a couple of comments about that. And then we went on to suggest that Adjunct Faculty Appreciation Day be held annually. Service awards should be open to more people by making it a T, I guess. Do you want to speak to that a little bit? We were talking about how we would like to have these guys be recognized in front of their peers, if possible. And so thinking about the timing of it was one of the things we're
Part of the issue right now is there's a luncheon which only the people who win are invited to.
And many of us would like to congratulate our peers and recognize them, which frankly is impossible to do for monetary reasons at a luncheon. So change it to a different type of event that makes it more inclusive for the whole community. There are also some problems with there's some issues with recognizing service. There is a problem with anyone who has a break in service. They don't calculate the number of years correctly, or even full-time. But what happens is those people can then appeal and they will recalculate theirs on an individual basis. But currently there is no way to recognize adjunct faculty service at all. We have people who've been here for over 20 years who aren't eligible, have received no recognition. As you know, adjunct teach most of the courses, most of the classes. That's the norm at most schools. But there should be a way to recognize their service.
And I would just say that I think I might add, what's at issue there is that oftentimes in our departments, I mean, we wish we could hire a whole bunch of full-time faculty. That would be amazing. But that's a budgetary thing that would be really difficult. But we've got adjuncts in every single department who have been here for years and years, and they do an amazing job. And so bottom line is that they deserve to be recognized. So.
Return to the topic, I guess, of shared governance. Then we did have opportunity this week to meet with President Randy Grissom and representatives from Staff Senate, and so then that was a very fruitful and productive meeting, and I think there was some genuine understanding and conversation around the issues in the draft that you have before you today. As a first read, we're very comfortable with, and want to acknowledge that everybody's hard work and diligence in crafting this policy. Hopefully, we have delivered to you a policy that serves boards and policy officials well. And just want again to reiterate how important we believe that this policy is for the college, and as was mentioned earlier, that it is a topic that is forefront in the minds of institutions, I think, nationally, and it's a living perspective that we value, that I think as we grow and mature as a college, that we have mechanisms that allow full and justifiable input from constituents that help to participate in the realization of the college for its purposes.
As it befits their role in campus.
Yes.
I just want to congratulate you on the hard work that you all put in, both faculty and the Staff Senate, to put together a document that's really meaningful, and I think it gets to the heart of the policy that will help us all work well together. So congratulations, and thank you for your hard work.
Yeah, thank you, and I want to thank you as well for the due process section, I think, that's in there, which you had suggested. And I think we've come through a process that is really positive, and we feel good about where we are.
I also want to thank the Faculty Senate. I think that you all did put a lot of time and energy, and many of your members participated, both adjunct and full-time faculty, and I think that we do have a good document. It seems that over the years that I've been on the board, we've had so many iterations of a shared governance policy, and none of them seem to quite work right. Hopeful that because of the involvement that you all had and the staff Senate had, that this is going to be a document that really works, that we really use, and if there are tweaks that need to be done, then we come back and see what those are. And we do know that the culture, the society is changing. The best leaders are those who really collaborate and work with people and listen to other ideas and can stand to be disagreed with and figure it out. And I want to thank the president too, who has had some of those points and been there, and this document is very good, and I really appreciate what you all as a faculty have created. Any other
Chair, I'll make a comment. I was going to save my comments till we got to that portion, but I want to thank the Faculty Senate and the Staff Senate. I think we've had some great discussions. I've learned even more so how to have discussions when we don't agree, and it's a learning experience for all of us, but I think it's also a healthy experience for all of us. It's the only way we move forward, the only way we address what the real issues are in college. I'm excited about this. We started off on a new footing.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Oh, and one other comment about those issues you had about adjuncts. Is that a policy change?
They've never been able, to my knowledge, they've never been able to calculate it. And we're really hoping that HR has an opportunity to figure out a way, whether it's you look at semesters, ERB, weighting, whatever. But I mean, weighting is in terms of how many hours taught or whatever, looking at a grid. This is not the first time we've brought it up, and we're told there is no way to calculate it. So we're hopeful that the new HR person will figure out a new way in his spare time.
There has been, I mean, the college has been here 30 years, and so then there are long-standing relationships with a number of professionals in the community that have been participating in teaching at the college. And if it has not been continuous, then I would just propose that we find another way of defining or recognizing that service and that ongoing contribution. They're part of the community that has provided for and has been part of the college for a long time, and it deserves some type of acknowledgement.
Well, I think through the Faculty Senate, you have an avenue to recommend those changes.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, I will take this charge and make sure we'll figure out something that we can do. As you know, in the budget, we've included some funds to be able to pay adjunct faculty to participate in activities that aren't directly related to the classroom experience. And I think that's a first step. We'll figure out something. I'll work with the HR staff. There's got to be some way we can do some kind of recognition, even if it only goes back to 2005.
Hopefully we can keep it running from 2005 on somehow.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just want to thank the President for taking on this challenge. I think it's important that we continue the dialogue in a very serious way and see how we can resolve. I've seen a big difference between our past meetings that we've had, a little contentious, and now a real spirit of collaboration. So I thank you and Faculty Senate as well as the President and his team for making sure that it gets done.
Thank you. We're all in this together for the students and the betterment of the society.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Staff Senate?
Madam Chair. Oh, hello. Members of the board and President Grissom, you probably have copies of the minutes from our two meetings, and I will just go through the highlights, and my partner here will add as he feels necessary. Certainly the most important thing that's been accomplished by the faculty, the administration, and the Staff Senate is the comprehensive shared governance policy. And our folks have worked very hard for the last year and a half on this, and we're very proud of the folks who have participated and stuck with it. So that is one of our large accomplishments. The other things that we've been working on are having more Q&As with directors and VPs in the college so that we can have more of a dialogue and communication going on with these folks, especially since we have some new ones. We have put together, which I think is for the first time in quite a while, a budget for the 2015-16 fiscal year for Staff Senate, and I understand that it's close to being approved, and I want to thank President Grissom personally for helping us because we have low participation, and we are hoping that these funds will help us improve and increase participation in the Staff Senate. So thank you very much for that.
Well, first, I think I speak for all the staff when I say that if our $1,000 budget means we can't get our salaries restored, then we'll give up that $1,000. So. But I wanted to say, you know, it has been a long, hard slog to get through this shared governance policy. And I think two of the things that really made it work in the end, one was this due process clause, which allowed us to take a lot of things and put them into the procedures. So we're not done yet. Just so you know that we have procedures we still need to work out, but that the board doesn't have to be concerned with that. We're putting in that due process clause allows us to realize that we can put things in procedures without leaving it to future presidents to just disregard them totally. And that was a key element. I want to thank President Grissom for coming up with, or whoever came up with that. He was the one that put it in there. So we appreciate that. That was a real key change to making us all be able to come up with something. So that was fantastic. And I think we came up with a good policy. We'll keep working on it. I do want to also, a lot of people have worked on this for a long time, and I want to make sure we recognize Chris and Yash for the work that they put in over time too. I mean, there were some contentious battles with them there. There were some contentious battles between the staff and the faculty. I mean, every step of the way, there's been contention all around, and I'm glad we came up with something. And I want to really appreciate and honor everybody who put in anything over the whole process, because that really contentious environment is where we get a lot of real good communication, a lot of clarity, and I think the college will run better as a result of all of that. So I want to thank the other thing we're working on a lot right now is we have bylaws. So when we had you guys pass our Constitution and we stripped out all, if we don't come up with bylaws really soon, we have no means of electing our new officers. So, so we have to get that one done. We're almost done with that, and that's the other big thing we're working on. And again, a lot of communication. We're bringing in all the vice presidents just to find out, share them our perspectives. What we found is our previous director of HR said it best when it's so much better to come and hear all of the perspective brought into one area, all of the concerns brought to the level of the whole staff, instead of, as she used to say, it's like being nibbled to death by hamsters when everybody comes in with their own little issue one by one. So we try to be that place where everybody's concerns come together. We can turn it into issues that really concern us as staff, not our individual personnel issues. So thank you.
Well, I also want to thank you all, the faculty, the staff senate, for what you have done and your participation. I have heard there's been contention between the two senates, and I think that's great, because that's where we figure out how to really work together in a meaningful way that is real and that will last. So thank you all very much.
As a person who has been kind of obnoxious at times about making sure that you move forward with the shared governance policy, I want to thank you for the really hard work that I know you did. And, you know, to tell you that I'm really pleased that you are willing to talk about differences of opinion and ways to resolve them, because that is when the most creative thinking occurs, is when you can look at an issue from a variety of perspectives. And obviously you've learned to do that through this process, and so thank you and congratulations.
I also just wanted to welcome the new board members. And congratulations. It's wonderful to see all these fresh new faces on the board. And my curiosity is, there were a few days when there was no quorum of the board. Did you guys all get together for dinner? It was the only opportunity you'll have. So anyway, thank you guys very much for your work too, and I hope you like the policy and you'll pass it, and we'll move forward as a community. And again, I think you're absolutely right. The contention was really good, and we all learned a lot from having to look at each other's perspectives. And recognizing that we have staff, faculty, student, administrators, and community, all with different interests, all at play in this community. It's part of what makes this a really great place.
And Kathy and I missed the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Willie, students?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, President, and Mr. President Randy, all the members. Today we have an awesome day, Earth Day, and we have 182 attendance for the activity in the conference. We have also 32 exhibitors and exhibitors. Also we have an excellent conference with Dr. Mark Nelson. It was so exciting. We feel so proud about it. Also, we have next week the spring fling. We wish to invite all the community, especially the faculty and the administration, to participate in the activity. We have a field day too. It's not a fun field day, it's not exercise, but it's going to be for fun. And tomorrow we're going to present the budget for the SCA, for voting for the House of Representatives, the SCA, and we're going to submit it for the next meeting.
Okay, our next agenda item is the approval of the consent agenda. Two minutes and 3 policies
Madam Chair, I'd like to remove item 4-9 from the consent agenda.
I'll second it for discussion. I think the minutes really need to, I think there's an opportunity for people to misunderstand the approval of the policies for final reading. And so I would suggest that we need to remove from the minutes the item on the Budget Finance Committee policy, so that it does not appear under the place where it says approval.
Wait, where is that?
Well, in the earlier agenda, in the minutes,
Minutes.
yeah, we noted that it was tabled, but then it still appears as an approval item, even though it says that it was tabled.
In the minutes, it appears.
I have removed it.
It's not removed in what we have in front of us.
Not removed on that, but in the minutes, it is removed.
But we can't approve something we haven't seen.
Okay.
Okay, so do we want to remove those minutes and table them?
Yeah, I would move we table those minutes to the next meeting.
Okay.
I second that.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, back to Jack's removal of, do we want to remove all of these
No.
final readings? Or
Just the one.
Just that one?
Just the one.
Okay, is there any objection? Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, so now back to approval of the sexual harassment policy and the rest of the policy. What's left on the consent?
I actually think we have minutes from the March 31st work session to approve too that are still here.
I thought we were removing both of those, no? Just the regular meeting? No, not all the minutes, just those one minute.
Yeah, just those 1 minute.
Just the minutes from the regular meeting?
From the regular
Okay.
meeting. Well, unless you think that I think we did talk about that at the work session, so.
I would recommend you remove both.
We remove both?
I'd remove
Yeah.
both.
So we're removing, just for clarification, the work session and the regular board meeting and policy 4-9. And now we're on a motion to approve the other two policies, 4-10 and 4-11.
I would so move.
Second. Any discussion?
So we had approved the removal of the portion of the regular board meeting. Now, don't we need to?
We removed 3 items. from the
Items.
consent agenda.
Okay.
favor of passing the two policies, 410, 419?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, we have 3 items that have been removed from the consent agenda, and we want to table the 2 minutes.
I believe we already tabled.
We tabled them? Did you get that? We tabled them? Okay. So now we're going to discuss discrimination and harassment as it was removed from the consent. Jack, yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just have one fairly quick comment about it. And if you look at page C13 in your board book,
I'm sorry, Member Sullivan.
C13.
Speak what?
C13. Page C13 of the policy. The part that caused me a little concern is paragraph 3. And unlike our policy that we just approved in sexual harassment, this policy says it is illegal to engage in, and then it goes on the different types of discrimination and hiring and firing and compensation, assignment, etc. I don't think it's a good idea to include in a policy what we might or might not think is illegal, because that, of course, is up to the court to determine and attorneys. We don't include it in, it appears, our other policies. I think it's perfectly appropriate to outline all the things that we do in there regarding prohibiting discrimination in promotions and layoffs and job advertisement and all of those categories. I just think it's a slippery slope for us to state that it's illegal.
So you would simply say the college prohibits discrimination in any aspect?
Exactly.
Can we have comment from
Yeah, can either you or Susan, she worked on these, come up and comment.
I don't think it changes the general message here that the college prohibits, and so it's easy enough to take that phrase out and just start the sentence with the college prohibits and not address that. I think it's something that's left from long time in that policy and not something that we added, so I appreciate that change.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all those, do you want to say anything?
Is that your only?
Yes.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So the policy passes with the removal of it is illegal to engage in, comma, and.
We'll make sure that happens.
Thank you. Just a question.
Yes.
When we do a final passage of policies, where do they get? And at what point will we have a full list of policies that have gone
Well, in this instance, Sue and Daniel would do a final draft and send it to me, and then I would do like the final formatting where I add the page numbers and things like that on the bottom, and then I send it to Ken, and he posts it on Jack. And in terms of a final list, we'll try to update the table of contents as we go along, so that the new ones will be added.
Would it be possible when you send it to Jack to electronically send it to us so that we can continue to keep a copy?
Sure.
Refer back to?
Yep.
What actions we took, how it changed. Thank you.
Sure. All of these policies are
Madam Chair, right now they're just on the internal website, but we do want to get them on the external website.
All right, financial report.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, President Grissom. In front of you, you have the monthly financial report for the month ended March 31st. We discussed these earlier today, and we discussed them yesterday along with faculty and staff, as well as administration. And so I just would like to just talk a little bit about the financials in a rough overview. The total cash in bank at the end of March is $8,087,000, and $5.2 million of that total is in the Wells Fargo operating account, and that is available for college operations. At the end of March, we have instruction general revenues up by $2 million, and that's 8% compared to the prior year. Expenses are down $868,000, and that's 3% compared to the prior year. If you look at salaries, since it makes up such a big portion of our budget, salaries are down in ING by approximately $427,000, and decreases in the amount of $474,000 have been realized in supplies, expense, equipment, and utilities, and that's a result of the financial stabilization practices that have been put in place. In total, we have total compensation and expenses down by $853,000, and that is 3%. With that, I can answer any questions if the board has any questions on this financial report.
A quick question, Vice President Tellis, could you talk with us a little bit about our cash and banks and just explain to me, so we have funds, although they're a minority of our funds, but a small amount of funds, and First National Bank is our depository, and with the New Mexico State Investment. So are those dollars, when we come to the end of the fiscal year, as we talk about our budget, rolled up into the cash account available into our budget next year, or are those set aside from our budget?
Madam Chair and Member Keith, those monies are available at the end of the year. They're generated in our bank account throughout the year, and so they would be available towards after the end of the fiscal year.
Madam Chair, Keith, just this predates Nick Tejas is joining us, but these are the amount of funds that have to be left in accounts that are collateralized, and they have to be there for a period of time. Then, if they are available for use, then we will close those out. We have to leave them for a period of time after we
Other comments, questions? I have a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Audit contracts.
So yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, President Grissom, we have the annual independent audit contract in front of you. This is a contract that is basically established by the State Auditor's Office and is a requirement of the state audit rule. It's something that we essentially have to gain approval. Otherwise, we wouldn't meet the requirements of a public body in terms of accounting and audit practices. So I don't know if you have any questions on that contract.
Who's it with? How much is it?
We've had the accounting and consulting group perform our audit for the past 2 years. We did an RFP 2 years ago to basically select accounting and consulting group to perform the annual audit. That RFP allowed for 3 years of the audit to be done by ACG. And so this would be year 3. And the total amount is $93,946. That includes the audit of all of the primary government, as well as the component unit, which is the foundation, as well as all of the requirements of a single audit, and that is subject to all of our financial awards. They have to be done under a particular type of audit.
Question?
Were there any changes made to this from last year?
Just the dollar amount, that was really the only significant change.
And my follow-up question is, as a newcomer to it, do you see any issues that we ought to be thinking about?
At this point, I really don't. Like I said, this language in this contract is pretty standard. It's very, very standard. It's basically you do it and fulfill the contractual requirements in order to perform your audit. If you don't have an audit done by November 15th, then you're subject to late audit findings and issues that are not beneficial to the college.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I remember that I attended the exit audit, and the auditor was very complimentary of the cooperation of our staff. So I want to congratulate our staff and the audit. He was very impressed from previous years that he had done the audit. So congratulate you and your staff for that.
I'll make sure that I let the staff know. There's been a lot of work done on the audit. A couple years ago, we had significant findings.
Right.
We've removed a lot of those issues, and so we want to make sure that we continue that progress with the board's involvement, watching over those financial control and financial management responsibilities that do apply to the board and the president's office. So I'm excited to make sure that I work with you all and communicate where we stand with the audit and those improvements that are being made on it.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move approval of the FY15 audit contract.
I
Okay, is there
second.
a second? Jack, discussion?
Discussion. In the contract, it specifies that we can pay the auditor up to 50% of their fee without state approval, and beyond that point, state approval is required for any progress payments to the auditor. How do we normally handle that?
Normally, the auditor, it's based off of percentage of completion of the audit. And so the auditor will essentially notify the management that they have completed this percentage. And I do believe they send that same documentation to the state auditor's office. And then they allow us to pay for the remainder of the services provided by the auditor.
So do they do that on all of their buildings, or after they've gone past the 50% completion level?
After the 50%, that's correct.
Okay, so we continue to pay them monthly or periodically, but at that point, the state has to concur as well.
That's right.
Okay, and that's how we've been doing it.
I believe in the past that's what's
Yeah,
been.
Madam Chair, Member Sullivan, yes, we do not make the final payment to the auditor until the notification comes from the state auditor that we can do so.
Right, but apparently they want to notify us after 50% as well.
I'm not sure if I'd have to go back and look at that. I do know the 50% final payment is not released until the state auditor says go.
Right, but I'm thinking of periodic progress payments between 50 and And then I think there's a 95% level when certain documents have to be submitted. And I just wondered how we handled that, whether we hold the remaining 50% until they complete the audit, or whether we continue to pay them periodically until we reach the end of the audit.
Member Sullivan, we hold the 50% until it's complete and the auditor has accepted it.
Ah, okay, so
We get a notification from them that we are okay to release final payment.
okay,
That's right.
thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Okay, the bar, state budget approval request, bar number 1.
So, Madam Chair and members of the board, I want to go through a PowerPoint that's going to address all of the next several agenda items. And we're going to talk about the assumptions that are in bar number 1 and the assumptions that are in the FY16 budget, and then we'll come back and address each one of these as separate action items. So the first slide. So just want to remind everybody, after the situation we found ourselves in last year, we've put in a number of accountability measures. The Board Finance Committee has been formed last May. Since then, we've also put together 5 review teams that includes representatives from faculty, staff, and administration to review the budget as it was prepared and put together. So we had a team that looked at instruction and general revenues, one that looked at expenditures, one that has been looking at public service, internal services, and auxiliaries, one that's still going to meet to look at the plant funds and capital outlay because we're going to be prioritizing projects and reviewing those, and then one that met with the board last week at a work session and an overall budget review. And one of the accountability measures we've really put in place and continue to work on is to make greater use of the Banner system, which is basically the ERP system for the college. And so we have moved from doing a lot of things offline, outside the system, using spreadsheets and other vehicles, to now using things in the system so that we don't have to do double entry and have mistakes. And so I'm really pleased with that project, and we've still got a step to go there. So here's the key assumptions in the first budget adjustment request for FY15, which is the current fiscal year we're in that ends on June 30th. The first assumption is that the financial stability plan is working. We did cut $3 million worth of funds out of the budget, so that was the first budget that was approved. We have been able to reduce spending close to $2 million on a one-time basis, and so it is working. Based upon the original budget that was approved, however, we do have more revenues to recognize. So we're going to increase our revenues by about $513,000. That reflects a reduction in tuition and fees above what we projected because, as you've heard earlier in the enrollment report, student credit hours are down this semester. Also, what's impacting our tuition and fees is the fact that our dual credit enrollments are up, and dual credit students do not pay tuition. By state law, we waive that tuition. It's good for us, it's good for the students, but it isn't good for tuition this semester or year it happens. The local appropriation is up. The collections that we're getting from our county mill levy is up, so we've recognized what we expect is going to be the final total there. And then we've increased our other sources. It's not a huge number, but it has increased from what we'd originally projected. And then on the expenditure side for the ING, after looking at everything, we've needed to increase total expenditures by $92,000. We also have to do the transfers to cover the subsidies in public service and to do the required renewal and replacement for both building and equipment that is required to be moved to the plant fund for budgeting purposes. So that's the sum of what's in the budget adjustment for FY15. If we go into the next slide, these are the revenue assumptions for fiscal year 16. We're anticipating our total tuition and fees to be up about $199,000. There's going to be no increase in tuition or required fees for our students. We did do an increase back in January, but there is no increase for next fiscal year. We have anticipated that our student credit hours will be down about 10% for credit hours, but we've also expect our continuing education and contract training revenues to be up. Kind of see the reverse happening when the economy comes back. Student credit hours start going down, people have more disposable income, so continuing ed revenues go up. They went down during the recession. Credit hours went up during the recession. We expect the opposite to start occurring, and we're seeing that this spring. And then contract training revenues, they've been up this year. We've got some opportunities going forward, and we think that that will continue to go up next year and probably even go up more than we have in the budget, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Also on the revenue side, our state appropriation is up $399,000. $124,000 of that is an increase to our instruction and general funds, which is really based upon the performance funding calculation. And then we have $275,000 worth of new program monies that came in our budget this year. $125,000 came for hospitality programs, $100,000 for radiography technician programs, and $50,000 for automotive. We expect our local appropriation to be up about $113,000 next year. That's primarily due to, from the county, we do have an estimate of a 2% growth in valuation. We've had quite a bit of construction, and the collection rate is up. So we feel comfortable that that is going to go up, and we feel that we've made a conservative estimate, but we still think it's going to go up at least $113,000. And then our other sources is actually going down, but that's just because we're changing the reporting of some student fees, which we were reporting as income and then reporting as expenses, and it really shouldn't have been revenue and expenses. It should have been collecting the cash, incurring a liability, and then releasing the liability when we use those student fees. Then on the expenditure side, the recommended budget includes restoring all the salaries that were cut as a part of the financial stability plan. The cost of that, including benefits, is right at $900,000. We also need to complete the institutionalization of several positions that were funded through the Title V grant over a number of years. That grant ends at the end of September, so the remaining 25% of those positions needs to be put into our institutional budget. Total cost of that is about $123,000. I also want to increase the student worker budget. We cut the budget a number of years ago. With the increase in the minimum wage, we've reduced the number of hours that our students are available to work, and we want to really enhance the number of students that are available to work in our labs to keep those instructional programs open longer hours. We expect a 10% decline in enrollment, which will be offset by a 10% decline in the amount of funds budgeted for adjunct faculty. It's a direct correlation there because full-time faculty have to have their full load. As I mentioned earlier, I've set aside $20,000 additional funds to pay adjunct faculty to participate in non-teaching service to the college, whether it be on task forces, committees, or even come to some special training we want them to come to. As Staff Senate mentioned, we're implementing a Staff Senate budget for a whopping $1,000, which is more than they requested, by the way. We're also in this budget, it doesn't have a direct impact on the numbers, but it does for employees. We're going to increase the mileage reimbursement rate for those people who use their personal vehicle for college business from 32 cents per mile to 45 cents per mile. And we're also increasing the marketing and public relations budget to help offset the decline in enrollment to try to keep it from not being even more than 10%. And that increase is about $150,000, which includes restoring 2 positions that had been frozen, as well as increasing the amount they can spend on advertising and other types of marketing and outreach. And I think there may be one more slide. Okay. Other assumptions on compensation. So salaries are going to be restored to the level they either were or would have been prior to the financial stability plan. So anybody who was here August 23rd got their salary cut. Anybody that was hired after August 23rd received their job offer at what their salary would have been, but it was cut the corresponding percent. So to restore all the salaries to the pre-level of the financial stability plan is that total cost of $900,000. On the full-time faculty pay, we had 3 schedules for 9-month, 10.5-month, and 12-month. I'm recommending we remove the 10.5-month schedule. It was not used for any faculty per se, but we're still going to keep 10.5-month chairs, and we're going to continue doing what we did this year. 10.5-month chairs will be on their 9-month faculty contract, and they will receive supplemental pay for the additional 6 weeks or 240 hours of work based upon their rate of the 9-month schedule. And then for this month, since we're restoring salaries and money is still tight, there would be no movement in steps for full-time faculty. So basically everybody stays at the step that they're currently at. The adjunct faculty schedule will remain unchanged. For staff compensation, it's going to remain unchanged for the staff salary schedule, and in the miscellaneous wage and salary schedule, the only change there is to increase the minimum wage from $10.66 to $10.84 per hour to match the living wage for Santa Fe County. The other item that's built into the budget is that under the category of public service, I have mandated that the kids campus subsidy will not exceed $100,000. We're going to manage that operation to make sure that the subsidy is no more than that. I think we can justify that level of subsidy because of the students, faculty, and staff whose children are in the kids campus, as well as the fact that it's a teaching facility, lab facility for us. So we will manage to that target. And then we reclassified the higher education center's operating cost from being a institutional dollar amount to being a public service that better fits the criteria in the higher education reporting manual. On the plant fund side of the house, and we still have a little work to do that, we anticipate that there could be as much as $3.4 million available for us to spend in FY16. $2 million of that comes from a state GO bond that was approved last November. We do have to transfer $338,000 to meet our renewal and replacement guidelines. We have about $555,000 remaining in our current local bond funds. And then we're hoping that we get as much as $500,000 if there is a special session on capital outlay for severance tax. If we don't get it, we don't spend the money, obviously. Just to let you know, we've been working on a master list that we'll be sharing with the board and with the various teams to review. We've identified, almost $10 million worth of projects over the next 5 years. $3.6 million of it we would like to spend next year. Obviously, we'd have to cut something, and I think Henry's already done some prioritization on that. But if we only have $3.4 million, and then we need to do some planning on the remaining $5.8 million or whatever that number ends up being. We're going to be in the process of updating our master plan this next year. And even if we spend all these dollars, we still leave a $551,000 balance available in the plant fund. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to questions here because this was from another presentation I did earlier, but we're going to move to as an action item for each of these.
Right.
Okay.
So we are on the approval of the state budget, bar number 1.
I have a couple of questions.
On that?
On the, on the presentation.
Okay.
So with $20,000 earmarked for adjunct, how many adjuncts will that affect?
We haven't worked out the criteria yet for what we're going to pay. I do know right now we've been giving a stipend, I believe, of only $100 per semester for adjunct faculty to participate in Faculty Senate. We figured that comes out to about $3.50 an hour, which is not adequate. We will probably be using one of the wage scales off of the faculty miscellaneous wage and salary schedule. And we'll just have to evaluate to see if this is enough money or not enough money for what we want to do. I would like to increase it going forward, but we felt this was just a start. We still have to work up the criteria for where we're going to use it. And we will work with Faculty Senate on that, by the way.
And then, what do you anticipate as the amount of money that you I guess save isn't quite the right word. It's probably expend with the with not using the step process.
We calculated that. One of our concerns was we didn't feel as tight as it was to restore salaries, the restoration is a greater percentage increase than a step movement.
I see. Okay.
And we were really concerned about the morale of the people who wouldn't get any kind of increase, and yet this subset of faculty would. And so we just fell from and this has happened in the past, we've frozen steps before.
So it was a choice between one or the other, and the other one. And finally, when you do a 9-month contract, those faculty who are on 9-month contract, do they have the option of having their salary redistributed throughout the year?
Yes, they do. And the largest majority of them actually do get paid over a 12-month period.
Okay.
But it's their choice.
Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Chair. A quick question about the Higher Education Center. So this year, we're pulling it out of the budget and making it its own center so that we can track it more efficiently, was the assumption I'd make. And in the budget, are we projecting to break even or to subsidize the Higher Education Center?
Madam Chair, Member Keith, we will subsidize the Higher Education Center, as we had talked previously, for probably another 2 or 3 years to a limited extent. We are using a lot of the facility ourselves at this point in time. The budget that's in public service is really our operating cost for our staff and some marketing pieces, which we will come close to recouping fully from what our our higher ed partners are paying to us. The utility bills by HED mandate and some other costs still remain in the plant budgets, but we have created a separate line item so we can give you reports on the total expenditures for operating the Higher Education Center. As we heard earlier today, I don't know if Henry is still here, but I think we just got our first utility bill and it was $7. So our geothermal wells and solar panels are doing their job at the Higher Education Center. So.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move approval of bar number 1.
I'm sorry. I have a question.
Well, you can second.
Second it and then ask.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion.
Thank you. On the estimated cost and budgetary support, so we have a total revenue of $55,913,754 and expenditures of $56,000. There is about $93,429 difference. Where is that going to be paid from?
The expenditure, if you notice, there's an asterisk down there. The expenditure of plant funds exceeds the revenues.
The 15 million?
Right.
Okay.
But they're not. But they're being covered by beginning balances.
Well, beginning balances.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Yes.
One quick reassurance. So what we're talking about first is the BAR, the budget adjustment. Just some assurances. We ended up in a not good financial situation about a year ago, looking at some budgets that were not favorable to us and pretty drastic. And the reason we ended up in that place was because of a miscalculation in the local appropriations that would be coming to the college. Mr. President and Vice President Tellis, could you give us some degree of security that that is not the same in this bar that we're passing tonight?
Madam Chair, Member Keith, we've looked at that over and over again to make sure that we haven't done that again. We've had our team that's reviewed the local appropriations, and so we have made sure that the revenue received from the mill levy that's for debt service, which is already in a separate bank account, is not also being included in revenues that can be spent for operating funds. So that assumption has been addressed, and I am very confident that we've budgeted appropriately.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and Member Keith, the one thing that we have done different this year is the establishment of the 5 teams to review the budget and to essentially offer transparency on how we're coming up with the methodologies. We had a revenue team, we had an expenditure team, and the governing board was team 5 to look at the whole budget. And so that's offered a lot of conversation and discourse over the budget subject, and that issue in particular with revenues and how we're using a methodology, using a yield control calculation and actual data from the county to come up with a revenue estimate for local appropriation. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any Opposed?
Did we-
Motion carries.
Did we do a motion in a second?
Yes.
Okay.
Martha Hubble.
Aye then.
Okay, approval of faculty compensation.
And so, Madam Chair, members of the board, this addresses what I mentioned in the PowerPoint a minute ago regarding the elimination of the 10.5-month schedule, the freeze-in at steps, and the full restoration of faculty salaries. And the estimated cost to restore the faculty salaries is about $240,000.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I just have a question on the notes. You talk in the second paragraph on the notes about the faculty advancing one step at the completion of each contract, but we just said that we weren't doing step changes.
Including a recommendation. Are you on E26?
It's right there.
Oh. That is,
E27.
current faculty will advance one step at the completion.
With funds available, and that may not say that on there. So this is the, maybe we need to think about that.
I think that'll get us in trouble if we don't, if we.
I recommend we remove that second paragraph
Yes.
on the notes.
So,
This looks exactly like last year, so
Yes,
I didn't catch that
I
part.
move that we amend this item to remove the second paragraph in the notes.
Second.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So we're back on the motion for passing the entire faculty changes. Any
Yeah.
further discussion?
Madam Chair, just a quick comment, if I could, that I want to thank faculty and staff. We did have a rough year at the beginning of last year, looking at a pretty dire budget situation for the college, and our faculty and staff were directly impacted by that. A really hard decision, at least for me to make as a board member, to vote to cut anyone's salary, knowing that everyone has financial obligations. And I think we're blessed at this institution to have a lot of talented faculty and staff that we really want to keep around on a long-term basis. So I just want to express gratitude to the faculty and staff for absorbing the cuts that they did last year. And I'm thrilled to be able to restore those as the first part of putting our budget back on track.
And Clark, do you want to say something?
Question if I could, please. Thank you. I'm just trying to see that I understand correctly. You're moving the paragraph, removing that there's a step increase annually. It did have the statement unless there's a financial exigency or crisis, which I believe the board did declare. So I'm wondering why it's necessary to remove that paragraph, which was negotiated into the faculty pay matrix.
Madam Chair, we did not declare a financial crisis, which is a different place within our policies. We did implement a financial stability plan, but we did not declare a financial crisis, just to make sure that we're all on the same page there. There's a very specific definition of declaring a financial crisis, which we made sure not to do.
And so then to return to progressive salary increases for general faculty the way it currently says now, does that mean that needs to be renegotiated again into the pay matrix?
I think
Clark, I
what
would
you said to
think-
begin with was a suspension for 1 year for this year of any movements in the steps.
Okay,
And this is the faculty salary schedule just for FY15.
thank you.
That's what it says at the top. We have to do one every year.
So then is it understanding that it would automatically return for 2016?
If the money was there.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Because that was part of a negotiated agreement at one point, because at one point there wasn't even 10 steps. I think it topped out at 6 or 7, correct? And so then already what happens when you go to 10, everybody that's been here 15, 18, 20 years, they're immediately topped out again.
Right.
And so I'm in the position of having to, please understand, then lobby for that there may remain some forward motion on some type of matrix for people that are just entering into the employment record of the college, and that also the staff, I think, really still have no matrix.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think in all of our discussions, we've talked about that there would not be the step increases in this year,
Yes.
or in 2016-17 for 15-16 for.
And the notes
Faculty.
clearly say current faculty.
Correct.
So I think the understanding is that the notes are related to this particular item, not to, a history or a perpetuity.
And so then
Scroll back to the top, so you'll see this is the faculty salary matrix just for this year.
Mhm.
We have to prove this every year, so hold us accountable next year that if fundings are available, that we've added that back in, because
Okay.
that is the intention.
And so what is the timeline to communicate for us with you about that timeline?
For next year?
Yeah.
During the budget process next year.
Okay.
But thank you for that comment. That
Yeah.
puts us all on notice.
Yeah, we don't want it to be forgotten when things
That's
are
right,
good.
absolutely.
You have it on tape.
Hi, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so where were we? Did we have a motion? We had a
Yes.
motion, right?
Yes.
And
Okay.
just to make sure, this also includes the adjunct faculty salary schedule. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Yes.
It's all part of the faculty.
It's all
salary.
part of,
Yep.
okay. That's not in this.
It is in the record.
That includes this.
It's another one. The staff compensation is the next item.
No, the adjunct faculty. That's what.
Oh, the adjunct faculty, I'm
Adjunct
sorry.
faculty schedule is
I'm
also
sorry.
part of this motion.
Okay, do we need to amend the motion to include adjunct faculty? Would you agree to that, Martha?
Yes.
Pablo?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right. So now we're voting on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So, Madam Chair, the next request for approval is staff compensation for FY16. I do have one correction to make on your estimated cost down there. It should be $657,000 instead of $757,000. That's the estimated cost to restore staff salaries. As we discussed, this matrix and the miscellaneous
It's not working.
wage and salary schedule are the same. Did we just lose the web? We're not working up here either.
Yeah, mine is not coming.
Yeah, we're not.
The link just doesn't work.
So basically, these two schedules are the same as they were this year, with the exception of increasing the minimum wage from $10.66 to $10.84 on the miscellaneous wage and salary schedule.
And staff salaries are frozen also.
Staff salaries are, except for the restoration, which is about
Right.
$657,000.
Yes. Everyone's restored and then frozen. So that is this motion. We have a motion? On staff.
I make a motion to
Is there a
approve the
second?
compensation.
I want to see it.
Well, don't think that's gonna happen.
I got a hard copy.
Do you have a paper copy?
I do.
I saw it.
Okay, so basically the description is that it's restored in the same way that it was removed in this
Correct.
last year.
Mhm.
So anyone above 30,000 is restored in the same proportion as they were removed the last time. I would second that motion.
Discussion.
Any discussion? Jack?
Could you explain to me, Mr. Tess, Mr. Grissom, President Grissom, as a newcomer here, in a particular grade, let's say grade 10, there's a minimum and a maximum and a midpoint. How is that determined? How is an employee salary determined in that regard?
I'm going to let Daniel Gutierrez, who's our Executive Director of Human Resources, address that. But as a general rule, a new employee comes in at the midpoint or below based upon an analysis by HR.
Yes, we do a salary calculation matrix based upon who's ever coming into the position. For example, if it requires a master's and 3 years experience and they're coming in, with a PhD in 5 years. So they would score higher on the matrix, getting closer to the midpoint. But we try very hard to place a new person below midpoint.
Okay, and I see there are 26 grades starting at grade 6, which of course means there's only 21. So what determines a grade?
We review the position description for the complexity of the job, the requirements of the position, supervisor responsibilities. There's many, many factors. So it's a full pay plan analysis. So we have an official pay plan. So all our positions are graded into a compensation plan.
Okay, and these are only staff, they're not faculty that are done this way.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to, when you have some time, to take a look at that, just to get myself familiar with that.
Madam Chair, Member Sullivan, a few years ago, we underwent a comprehensive classification study and review with an outside consulting firm. And so part of what we have in place reflects that review and the comparison to markets and other institutions like us. There are some aspects of that that we would like to change in the future, and we will be looking at that again.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we're on to approval of tuition and fees.
Basically, tuition and required fees are exactly the same as what's in effect as of this January. In-state and in-district tuition is $44.50 per credit hour. In-state but out of district is $56.50 per credit hour. Out of state is $103 per credit hour. Senior citizens, which is required by law, is at $5 per credit hour. And then our required fees, the service fee of $3.80 per credit hour, the Student Government Association fee of $1 per credit hour, and the student activities fee of 50 cents per credit hour. That is no change from what is currently in effect.
Move approval?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the FY16 budget.
So for the FY16 budget, this assumptions are built upon the things you just approved that related to faculty salaries, staff salaries, and tuition and fees. It also recognizes the amount of appropriation we received from the state, which was just over $9.9 million in ING funding. As I mentioned before, $125,000 for hospitality, $50,000 for auto mechanics, $100,000 for radiography technician, and we continue to receive $276,700 for the nursing expansion. And as the lead center for the small business development centers, we continue to receive the $4.4 million of their appropriation. It does include the restoration of salaries, the institution of the Title V positions, the increase to student worker budgets, the budget for paying adjunct faculty for non-teaching work, a staff senate budget, the mileage increase, and the increase to the marketing and public relations budget.
I just have a quick question. Is there any reason why the state does not use the federal mileage reimbursement policy? Do you know?
It's in statute.
Just because it does, huh?
The legislative bodies do, the rest of the state does not.
Okay.
One of the things I do want to add into this, because we got at this at yesterday and discussed it this afternoon, is we also have to include the budget for the restricted funds that we discussed this afternoon, because that is part of our submission to the state.
So do we need to add that to this motion?
We do.
So we need a motion approving this plus the restricted.
The restricted budget numbers. I would so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Kathleen.
So just a point of clarification. This year, our total budget is 51 million. What does that compare to last year?
It compares to, let me find the right number here. The wrong book. It compares to this past year of 55.9.
Before or after the stability plan?
After the stability plan, but the biggest difference is the capital projects.
Oh,
We were
sure.
still finished the higher education center and the solar array. So, the last couple of years, our total budget, including plan funds, has been much higher because of those huge bond projects.
Okay, thank you.
So can I ask that in a different way? So this year, our total operating funds, our ING revenues, our operating funds are 34 million. And how does that compare with last year?
33.8 million was last year.
So we have a slight increase this year.
Slight increase, which is mostly due to the restoration of salaries.
That's $1 million about.
And the new programs, those 3 new programs that we're expanding.
Great.
Any other, yes?
Madam Chair, 2 additional comments. I'll be quick. First of all, I want to thank our Santa Fe legislators for their support in this legislative session. I'm very proud and thankful for the new programs that are coming to Santa Fe Community College. First of all, to help us and support us in the area of healthcare, which is by far and away the highest demand careers we're seeing across the state and in northern New Mexico. And so happy that the legislators could work with us in order to get more people into high demand jobs that we'll be producing graduates for, and for the automotive program, which I think is a fabulous partnership with the Santa Fe Public School District, of the 2 of us working together to utilize a facility for both high school students to train in and for our students at the community college to train in. Secondly, I want to say thank you to President Grissom. I think that we come to this point in the budget process tonight where we can restore salaries because of a lot of careful stewardship over the last year, of putting a plan in place, a financial stability plan in place that was very aggressive and risky in the beginning to do. But if we hadn't have done that in hindsight, we would be in as bad of a situation right now as we were a year ago. I know that the president has spent a lot of his personal time on reviewing our finances, making our finances, and I know that this board had very high expectations for the president and the staff here to turn this budget around, which we have done. We're not there yet, but we've definitely made strides this year from where we were last year at this time. So I want to thank the president for his leadership in that.
Thank you. Yes.
I'd like to respond to that and thank. I also have to thank the faculty and staff and the students, because everybody contributed to solving our problem. People took cuts in pay. People had to live with less resources in some cases. We didn't do travel this year. And the students had to pay more in tuition and fees for the spring semester. I am very proud that we solved such a large problem in 1 year. We've still got to address issues. We've still got to build our balances. We've still got to get things in shape. But basically, we solved a very major problem in 1 year. I know we all worked on a plan that said we would do that. There were times I wasn't so sure we could do that, but we've done it. And I'm very proud of everybody at the institution for doing that. And we learned a lot, and we're going to be better going forward.
Okay, we have a motion, right? Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, and that
Madam
motion
Chair, I'm going to ask you to go
included-
back and reconsider the approval of the bar number 1 that we already passed, because we need to also include the restricted funds portion
I
that
thought
we
we
discussed
did.
earlier. We did not in the bar number 1, we did in the budget.
So we need a motion to approve the non-restricted funds in bar number 1.
And the restricted funds.
I'm sorry, the restricted funds. We already passed the non-restricted.
Correct.
Approve the restricted funds in bar number 1.
I would move that we add that.
Is there a second?
Is there a,
Question, yes.
is there a number that we need to read into the record on that? Because I don't see those documents, but we did get them in the work session earlier today.
We need to,
We have them.
It is the 36 million?
yes, bar number 1, actually, it is $20 million, $20,267,975 of revenues and expenditures in ING for FY15, and the rest of them were already in there because they were in the transfers.
Okay. So that'll be part of the motion. Any
And is
discussion?
that the restricted or the
That
unrestricted?
is the
That's
restricted.
That's the restricted.
We're adding the restricted.
So that 20 million, what was it again?
$20,267,975.
Is added to the
And that's both.
unrestricted.
No, that's the restricted portion that's added to our total budget for next year.
Thank you.
And that's a revenue and an expense because they offset as a grant.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, that's it for the,
First reading on shared governance.
now we have, okay, where is it? Shared governance.
Thank you, Nick.
First reading. Thanks, Nick.
Madam Chair,
Do you have anything to?
we discussed this at the work session. We talked about it in the faculty and staff senate reports. The draft of Policy 1-1, shared governance, is a collaborative effort amongst all the various constituents groups in shared governance at the college: faculty senate, staff senate, student government association, the president's executive team, the president, and the governing board. We're all part of this, and we feel like we sat down and worked some things out, and we're ready to pass this for first reading. And I don't know if any of faculty or staff have any more to add other than what we've already talked about in your communication reports. Thumbs up.
We don't vote on this, so.
Yeah,
We don't vote on this, right. We are, just to let everybody know, we did discuss at the work session, there's a couple of minor tweaks in wording that we're going to make, and they'll be in there for the final version that will be considered at the May meeting.
And I just want to thank you, Mr. President, for really being courageous enough to go through the conflict and disagreement that we would all have on an issue like this and not be threatened by it. I think that is the sign of a great leader, so.
If I could say
Thank
something
you.
cute. Last summer, before the financial stability plan and shared governance, I did not have gray hair. Now, does anybody believe that? No.
I too want to thank all of the constituent groups and the president for hard work and difficult conversations that I'm sure you all had in coming up with a document that I think is excellent and that I think we will work very hard to implement. And to say that probably in a year's time we will want to look at this document and do an analysis of how well it worked and what might be needed to be looked at, if anything. So thank you to all the leaders who undertook this hard work.
Yeah, again, just reiterate, thanks for President Grissom for understanding that the various constituencies had viewpoints that just simply need to be incorporated, I think, into a process. A lot of the shared governance engagement is something really and truly that both staff and faculty and administration or students are involved in, I think, already. And then finding a place or a way or methodology or language to park it inside of this iteration or this generation's definition of it, I think was critical. And it was a good process. I mean, it went on for a long period of time, but that's because you care about it. You know?
Thank you.
So, thanks, Randy.
Okay, our next item is election of officers, and we have a slate. And I will move that Martha Romero become chair, Kathy Keith vice chair, Secretary Pablo Cedillo. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, did you want to say something?
No.
All those in favor?
Who can vote?
Everybody. Okay.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Congratulations for our new slate.
Madam Chair. I would like to thank outgoing Chair Siegel for the leadership that she's provided to this governing board over the past year. It's been difficult, and through her leadership, we were able to get a lot of things done. So I'm very proud to be a member of this board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, may I ask a question? Do we need to also do election of officers to the Higher Learning Center Board?
No, that'll be at the next.
Not at this
Their
meeting.
board meeting, yeah. Okay, take over, Martha.
Take over. I thought you got to finish this.
Okay, well,
You finish
You
it.
have one more
okay.
thing.
We have one more thing, announcement of our retreat on May 1st, and what time is that?
All day.
8:30,
8:30.
8:30 to 5 at Hotel Santa Fe.
The Hotel Santa Fe.
Okay. And that is a noticed meeting,
Yes.
and then our next regular meeting is May 19th. So we now need a motion to go into closed session for blah, blah, blah.
Kathy, you're on.
Maybe I should make this Jack's job since he's
The new
our
guy.
newly appointed member. Madam Chair, I move that we go to closed session for purposes of discussion of pending or threatened litigation pursuant to 10-15-1 H7 NMSA 1978, employment claims involving administrative complaints or claims issues in cases D-101-CV 2013-03032 and case number D-101-CV 2014-02295. And threatened litigation by former employee regarding issue with retirement benefits and for the purpose of discussion of personally identifiable information without any individual student unless the student, his parent, or guardian requests otherwise pursuant to 10-15-1 H4, discussion of threat and complaint made by student.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you all very much.